folks. So I'm going to do a quick review here of the Hyatt River Marsh Golf Club in Cambridge, Maryland. Now, this is a course that is about 2 hours away from downtown DC. I can say it is not that bad of a trip down there from downtown DC. It is a fairly decent course. So this is the middle of November, late November kind of thing. And it was one of those days, and the problem with golf now at this point is I have to play when the weather's pretty decent. I mean, obviously, if it's decent weather, that's an incentive to go out and play golf. But at the same time, there aren't a reliable set of weekends coming along down the road where you're going to say, oh, like this weekend I'll be able to go out when it's 60 degrees and play. It's reliably in the 40s now here in the DC area. So it's a whole different ball of wax now. You really have to kind of, play according to the Mother Nature schedule, not really my own schedule, at least for me. It was just happened to be one of those Saturdays where the weather was pretty decent, so I went ahead and played it. And the main thing is that it's a decent drive. You go out Route 50 and then you catch, I guess, the Bay Bridge, and then you take that out to 50 at Queenstown Harbor and go south on 50 down through, I guess it's Elkton, and then you go on across the whatever river it is down there, and then the course is pretty much, again, still on the road out to Ocean City, but it's not all the way to Ocean City, certainly, which is more like 4 hours, from downtown DC. It does have some good views of the river. There actually are parts of the course which do go right pretty much down on the river. I think the 18th for one, and the second hole, the 17th actually crosses this little inlet that goes between the main part of the backside and the 17th and 18th holes. And it's not a bad looking course. I mean, don't get me wrong when I say this. It's not a bad looking course for a wetlands, marsh, estuary type course, okay? The problem is it's still on the shore of the river, and it's flat. It's not far from the main road that goes through Cambridge, and there's a lot of road traffic on that road. It's right next to a major intersection there for the area, which is where the Walmart is right across the street, and so forth. And the other problem is that it brings back into play a lot of the negatives of playing just off a major road or major local road, and that you have people driving by and in loud trucks, honking their horns. There are people honking their horns just in general, just because they see people they know. They go, whatever. And this is all happening. I would say the course has this fairly rectangular kind of layout, and it's not a bad layout. And the course is not a bad course. It is a tricky course. You do need to look at the map. They do have the GPS map and stuff in the cards and so forth. And you really need to look at that map when you play this course, because there's a lot of water and a lot of waste and stuff that's hard to see from the tee box or from the middle of the fairway or whatever. And the only way you're going to know that it's there is if you look at that GPS map, and some of those water sections run right up next to the green or very close to it, certainly alongside the green on the fairway, and they're surprisingly challenging. Before you hit any shot on this course, look at that GPS map and find out where the water is on that hole, because it can pop up in just a bad place. Let's say there is a small municipal airport on the other side of that Walmart, on the other side of Route 50, and when I was playing, there were like 3 or 4 planes that came in for a landing, and it was like the final approach that was right over, for example, one of the holes, one of the par 3s, and there's a par 4, and there's a Mooney coming right down over you. And so there's the landing and the takeoff that you see a fair number of small planes coming right over the course, down, I mean, literally down around 100 feet over the top of the over the course. And then there's the takeoff planes that come off and they circle around the course and go back and maybe do a touch and go or whatever nonsense they're doing. But so when I played the course, I saw at least 4 planes no more than 500 feet above the course. There's a whole fairway or two and a tee box for the course that are just off of this Route 50 section next to the Walmart. So you will have a fair amount of road noise near that section. The number 9 tee box, at least for the championship tees, is right behind the gate. So you have to hit through this gap in the trees, and there's cars coming on the road, Route 50, and there's cars coming that are going up to the Hyatt Regency Hotel. It's a very busy place, a potentially very busy place in terms of road traffic. But overall, it was a good course. I did enjoy the round. It was a great practice round. I was lucky enough to be able to get out there on a day where it was almost empty. The weather was just really nice that day, and I guess because it was, middle of November and stuff, the week before Thanksgiving, it was relatively empty, but not totally empty. I definitely got held up on, I would say, the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th holes, and it really is an odd transition to go from pretty much having a course to yourself through the front 9, certainly, and you get to like the 10th and 11th, and then people are coming back from the clubhouse, getting something to eat and rejoining the course, and you're like, it's like a merging lane and stuff like that, and all of a sudden the course starts to have people, and all of a sudden you have to play weight golf for the last 4 or 5 holes, and which is a shame because it was a really nice course. I really got into the flow, and I had a great time playing the first, I would say, 12 holes before I got backed up behind somebody. It was a nice course to play when it was pretty much empty, but it really is not a great thing to have to wait all of a sudden 5 minutes, to play a hole, play the hole, and when you're single, you're going through the hole in like a minute or two at the most, and then wait 5 minutes, and then play the hole in a minute, and then wait another 5 minutes, play the next hole. But the holes are definitely a challenge in the larger sense, even though they're not vertical. They're fairly flat. There's more than enough water, enough waste, and enough hazards and stuff on this course to make it a decent challenge. It's decently long, especially from back tees. I think it was 7,100 from the back tees. I believe it was close to slope 140 from the back tees. But again, these are from the back tees, so it really depends on what you want to do. Do you want to play from the forward tees and have a fairly easy time of the course, or do you want to play from the back tees and have a harder time? And I'm not gonna lie to you. I would definitely prefer to play from the back tees and have not just a harder time, but also a longer course. So for me, that was fairly good. But what's bad is waiting for people who are playing slow foursomes ahead of me, which is a shame because I really did enjoy playing the course. It's just the only thing that really bothered me about this course was having to wait on 4 or 5 of the holes. That kind of just took a lot of the steam out of the course for me. And that's also a shame because 17 and 18 are actually very nice holes. Actually, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 are definitely a good closing set of holes. And you don't want to be sitting out there when it's 50 degrees or, and overcast and getting a little bit cool and getting cold and then playing a challenging hole. The 18th is a very nice par 5, not exceptionally long, but it has a very bad problem in that the green, you have to play the green on this hole, you have to pass in front of this big hotel. It looks like a big, stack of condos, which is the back of the main Hyatt Regency Hotel. And so you've got the water on the left, literally on the left. You're going to make a dogleg sort of turn to the left towards the water to play that green, and then you pass right by this hotel. And sure enough, I'm literally 100 feet off the green. I'm trying to chip off of this really short grass onto the green, and then there's this kid that starts yapping right when I was in the middle of my backswing, and I duffed the famous 50-yard chip shot duff. Classic. Not to mention there was some old guy with a poodle on the hill behind the green in the first place. He's just standing there looking out over the water. So, unfortunately, the course is a decent course, not a great course. By far, not a great course. It's a decent course, okay? Marred by the fact that there are houses that pop up when you don't really want to see houses. that there's residential noise that when you don't want it, definitely. And there's road noise when you don't want it. And there's plane noise when you don't want it. There's planes flying around. So I couldn't take it too kindly. I would say that it's a good course, a great practice course, and a decent round of golf, but you have to take it a little casually because you just cannot concentrate on golf with all these. At least I couldn't. I could play it, but I couldn't really get into it, and just devote myself to it 100% because I got to wait for other people to play. I got to wait for this and wait for that, and this and the other, deal with this, deal with that, whatever. And it was just, okay, fine. And the worst thing that about golf is when you can't focus on the game and everything becomes just half-ass, And so that's how I felt about this course. It's okay for a decent round of golf to get out and play. Certainly, it was a decent experience for Ocean City in terms of my history with Ocean City golf. But at the same time, you just can't take it too seriously. It cannot be taken too seriously because there's so many distractions. And even if most rounds of golf involve a fair amount of waiting, it's just not fun to play golf when you're sitting on the tee box for 5 minutes waiting for the people in front of you to get out of the way. It just knocks it down a couple levels. So part of my experience was that frustration and aggravation, and the other part of it was playing a course which was new and interesting and decent and had fairly decent landscaping and stuff like that. So I'm going to give this course a B star, but I want to tell you about one other thing. So on the second hole, it takes a left turn off the hole number 1 that comes out of the clubhouse. It goes straight out behind the clubhouse, and then it takes a left. Now, on that left turn, you'll see two things. There's a fairly big pond/marsh to the right of the fairway, and I will tell you this right now, it goes further than you think it does, okay? It is easily twice as long as you'll think it is just looking at it. And this is, again, why looking at the map is important. And certainly coming back on number 3, you definitely need to look at the map because there is a creek that runs between the bank of trees on the right side and crosses the center of the fairway, and also the fairway behind the part that crosses the center of the fairway. So the green is isolated from the trees and stuff on the right, and also the short fairway in front of the green is isolated from the trees on the right by a creek that's approximately 6 to 10 feet wide. You don't want to go over near those trees, okay? You can see them, they're there, but you don't want to go over there. You don't want to hit over there. Crossing the creek extension that comes across the fairway is a different story. It's not too unusual, not too challenging, but you don't want to go to the right. You stay in the center where the flag is and stuff, and maybe a little bit left, that's fine, but you do not want to go over to the right side. That whole right side, almost all the way back to the green, is water, before you get to the trees. On number 17, the green is just past the marsh in front of it. So you can see the flag, but you won't really be able to see the green, and you can hit towards the flag and everything, but you cannot be short on that green. You have to be green height or longer. If it's short on you when you hit towards the green, you have maybe 20 feet of green and grass before the marsh to land short in. Likewise, I think there's another hole there. There's a par 3 that looks fairly straightforward. It's a 150-yard par 4 from the back tees. Again, there is a pond behind the green. You have to be careful for that green, not to be short, not to be right, and not to be long, because it's almost entirely surrounded by water. So left or on the green is good to play there. There are some tricky shots on this course, but it's not that hard of a course. It's just that you just need to be very careful of where the water is. However, overall, I can't say this and not sound like I'm harsh on the course. However, overall, it's still a flat course with some trees here and there, fine, whatever, but still, it's still a flat course. It's still on the shore, and it is in no shape or form as nice of a course to play as a course with some elevation where you can see some mountains in the background, where, you know, it's just so different. I played a course down in Harrisonburg again, which I've talked about a couple of times, down by Massanutten. Night and day, just night and day. The views, the course, the challenge, everything on this course, simply because it's in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. You see all these nice, you know, mountains rising off in the distance and just really nice views. And you've got this uphill shots, downhill shots, giant shots across this great crevasse, shots approaching over a pond. It's just a completely really nice round. It was just, I was so glad to get out there and play this. And on top of that, it was almost empty. I was the only guy I saw out there, and there were two guys that were out there before I got there that I saw that were finishing up the front nine when I started. And there was another guy that was behind me. But it's like four people playing the whole course, the whole afternoon. Just unbelievably nice. Had a really great time playing it. No cars, no distractions, no trucks, no planes, no people talking on the course, nothing at all in terms of a distraction. Nothing. On a really nice course with wonderful views. It was a little bit ragged in some places because of the greens, and some places had bare spots and stuff like that. I mean, it wasn't perfect. They had aerated the greens. They aerated, and a lot of the greens were aerated. The course was not in the world's greatest condition, but it was still a great course. It just is a really nice course. And I can't tell you how much more I enjoyed playing this course than River Marsh. But I'm not going to deny that I enjoyed playing River Marsh. It's just that it's one thing to play it by yourself with no distractions, and another thing to play it while you're waiting for other people to play in front of you with all the distractions that you will find on the latter part of the front side and on the back side, basically, because you have the front of the back side is, the beginning of the back side is along Route 50, and the end of the back side goes back towards the hotel, let's say, okay? And it's just a night and day kind of difference between those two things. But one other thing, there's also on the second hole a short row of condos that runs along the left side of the fairway. Now, not only are these condos more than close enough to get shelled, okay? The hole is plenty wide, really, but most people are not going to play to the right because the green is sort of directly down the row of condos. If you imagine that there's like a little notch there where the condos are, and then you're hitting to the green. A lot of people came out there and played towards that green, and a lot of the people that played towards that green shelled those condos, and those condos were ripped up with ball marks. All the little dividers between the little space, you know, where people might have a picnic table or a grill or something in the back behind their condos, they were just perforated with ball marks. Not little dinks, but perforations. There was one guy that had a net on the whole second story of his house, but for almost all of those places, the ground floor was just ripped up. It literally looked like there had been a war on the back of these condos. And I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen anybody actually have damaged property behind balls striking their property. Trust me, on all of this property, every bit of it, it was just ruined by people who had hit over there with balls. But just past that, next to the green, there's this really nice restaurant and a really nice pier and so forth. There weren't any boats or anything out there. There weren't any people out there. But it was, and I could, you know, it was just nice. It was nice. There was nobody there when I played. But just imagine what this place is like in the summer, when the weather's even halfway decent. It would be chock full of people. Imagine playing that hole with all those condos out there, and there's, you know, someone has to be out there on the back of their deck on those condos. Someone's going to be out there next to that restaurant. There are definitely going to be boats. There are definitely going to be people out there playing and so forth and so on. And there will be more planes. There will be more cars. There will be more honking of horn. There will be more people in that big towering hotel next to the 18th green. And there will be more people on the course. And I think that it's important to keep in mind that if you're going to look at a course and rate it in the overall sense, you have to also think about the summer business, the spring business, the early fall business, not just the business in late November when I play the course. And for this, I would stay away from this course like the plague during the summer. There's no way I would even spend my time coming to play this course during the summer. It just would be a disaster. However, if you're in Ocean City and you're looking for a good course to play, I would say probably every course like that, every course in the area would be like that. I mean, they're all going to be busy. They're all going to be noisy and full of people who are drinking and playing stereo in their carts and so forth. So not the world's best environment to play golf in even the best time of the year to play, which is now. And certainly a disaster to play it in the summer. So that's it. I'm being very generous, I think, to give this course a B star, which it definitely is for the golf. It's not bad at all for the golf. It's the surrounding environment, which I think would be a nightmare. That is the Hyatt River Marsh Golf Club in Cambridge, Maryland, a at most B star course.